Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn.
Welcome to the basketball edition of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. I'm Lynn, the Director of Athletics here at West Liberty University, joined by head women's basketball coach Kyle Cooper. Coach Cooper, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yep. Well, the preseason tends to go quick, and you're going to send your troops out on the court here in 2 days. Thoughts going into the game. Let's not talk so much about the opponent, but just thoughts on your team going into the game.
Yeah, I think it's been a really, really good preseason where we've seen players not only take a jump from last year, but a jump through preseason, and that's from a lot of different standpoints. Situational basketball, situational effort, which we know is so valuable, learning the system, but also just seeing leaders emerge. And we are a young team on paper, but we know that we've got a lot of veteran players in the program due to COVID waivers. So really excited about the opportunity for them to get out. It's the time of year we want to be going against other people. We're tired of going against each other.
Yeah, I can remember those days. And, of course, I'm 180 years old, and the preseason is much different now than when I started out coaching. So tell our viewers a little bit, according to NCAA rules and such, what are you allowed to do when school starts?
Yeah, so until October 15th, when we get geared up, we get 8 hours with them. 4 can be strength and conditioning in any way that we want to utilize it. 4 can be on the court. So we've kind of built a model where it's a little bit of a balance. They're with Coach Seth, who handles all of our strength and conditioning for about 3 hours a week in a variety of different ways. And then on the court, we're all together in a variety of ways as well. That's individual skill development, some breakdown sessions. We love to play 3-on-3, which I know is always one of your favorites as well for development on both sides of the ball. And then we do some team practice as well to start getting our installs in.
Yeah, and the one thing that people, even when I tell them now, go, what, really? They're like, it's October 15th, they'll be able to start practicing. And I try to tell them, well, actually, after the 4th day of school, you can have full-fledged team practices, and people don't get that.
Yeah, and it's a huge asset. I mean, by the time we get to October 15th, we're about 75% into what we want to get in for our first scrimmages. And now it's cleaning things up, trying to find different creative ways to keep them into it because, again, they start to get sick of going against each other. That is maybe one of the only negatives of having access to them as much as we do now is the idea that they want to go against somebody else. And then that's why we do take advantage fully of utilizing all 3 scrimmage opportunities that we can.
Right, and that's the thing, even with the 3 scrimmage opportunities, at least you get a little bit of a feel for where you're at. So you open up this weekend the MEC PSAC crossover. So give us a little bit of details, where it's at, what time are the games, and who's in the tournament.
Yeah, so we're going to be going to Charleston, West Virginia. This completes the 4th year of our round robin with this alignment and with these teams. So it's at Charleston. They'll be the host. We'll be playing Cal U on Friday at noon, and then on Saturday at noon we'll be playing Mercyhurst. So it's teams we're familiar with. We've played over the last several years, dating with Cal and Mercyhurst back to our tenure together when we were working together on the court. So 2 teams we're familiar with, but 2 tremendous challenges as they're both very good.
And one of the advantages to a consistent 4 teams over a 4-year cycle is you don't have to play the scheduling nightmare game. I don't think people understand how crazy scheduling is, how difficult it is. So at least sign that contract for 4 years, and that takes a little bit off your plate.
Right, and we were kind of ahead of the curve with that, dating back to, again, our tenure together. But the idea being lock in 4 years, then in year 3 start figuring out what comes the next 4 because scheduling can be a nightmare. And I think we're in a good position as a program where it's not as easy to get games as maybe, some teams have it. But in turn, scheduling, like you said, can be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's just so crazy. And if there was any confusion about starting times, these games were originally supposed to be in the evening.
Correct.
But things happen. And in the Mountain East Conference, whoever's the number 1 seed in volleyball, they get to host the tournament. Well, it worked out that Charleston is the number 1 seed, so an MEC tournament is going to trump anything else. So then the basketball games got moved, and that's not an ideal situation. But in fairness to Charleston, they're also hosting potentially 2 rounds of NCAA soccer. So I do not envy, what they have to do down there. Tell us something, just your quick thoughts for the season to go the way that you want it to go. Mm-hmm. And a best case scenario, you want to be successful. What needs to happen for you to reach that level?
I hit it from an individual standpoint, players making jumps, and we're seeing that. We need to make jumps in the games, though, as well. But as far as holistically and collectively as a program, what we'd like to see is us maintain the pace we've been playing with. We were number 2 in the country in scoring last year behind the national champion Glenville State Pioneers. And for us, we need to continue to play at that pace, but what we'd like to see is we'd like to see our team evolve defensively so we can do multiple things, which maybe just not only makes us better, give teams other looks, but maybe force a few more turnovers, while also as we grow up as a program and as individuals, this team figures out a way to just value the basketball a touch more, because we've shown that if we are able to get shots up, we do value efficiency, and we are a highly efficient ball club, and that needs to continue. So if we can do a lot of those things and stack those concepts as we grow up, I think we're going to see a team that can play at even a higher pace.
Such a fine line between wanting to play up tempo but being able to stay within yourself and not turn the ball over.
Yep.
I know in my tenure, that's always was a struggle. You want to play fast, but there's consequences sometimes with playing fast. So you go down, you have Cal PA, you have Mercyhurst in that opening tournament. Tell us who else is in the non-conference segment of your schedule.
Yeah, so we will then the next week go to Ohio Dominican, which we had a great game against them, tale of two halves this past season. We returned that home and home to them. We also will have a New Year's Eve game, which is kind of unique, but again, scheduling, we have to get creative, and we'll be bringing in Ashland, which obviously is a perennial power. They're another team on our schedule, non-conference, not just conference-wise, that's already top 15, the WBCA top 25. So that's a testament to just how our strength of schedule is. We'll also see Tiffin at home before the holidays, and then we'll go to Bluefield State on Martin Luther King Day. So it's a schedule that has tremendous balance, but also a schedule that's very tough. But if we want to do what we say we want to do and play in NCAA tournaments and for championships, we have to do this.
And strength of schedule is just so important when it comes down to who's going to get those at-large berths, if that's a possibility. So I don't know if I would have scheduled it as tough as you did, but hey, these wins and losses don't go on my record.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that once or twice from you in our tenure, as you being my boss is the AD, not the head coach.
Oh yeah, and again, you have to play quality teams. If you aspire to be a quality team at some point, you got to be able to play with the quality teams. Let's change gears. Penn State football bowl season.
I mean, I think they're in a good position to go 10-2, but I'm going to kind of utter the same thing we tell our players and the same thing that James Franklin tells his. 1-0, got to handle business. But I think 10-2 is realistic. I want to see us in a Rose Bowl. So, we are.
Yeah, and for people out there that's wondering why we're talking about Penn State football, Coach Cooper's father is a Penn State alum, right? So
correct.
He grew up as a Penn State fan. I grew up as a Pitt fan early in my life, so those two worlds don't mix. So
not well at all.
Yeah, a lot of grief that goes on in football season on a yearly basis. But last thing, tell us something. It could either be an individual or team-wise, something that may surprise us, something basketball-wise that we should be looking for.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think, one of the things that will surprise a lot of people is maybe just some of the combinations we put out there at times, meaning that it is pretty unique to return 5 of your 6 top players, but what some people don't realize is just some of the strengths of our returners beyond that. And then on top of that, this blend of newcomers. And I don't want to allude too much because I'm sure the other programs will be listening going into this weekend. But I think we've got tremendous depth and athleticism and talent. And I'm looking forward to us continuing to grow up on the court and especially in sudden change moments. And I think we can see a team that's pretty fun to watch.
Well, in these podcasts, which we just concluded 11 weeks of football, this is the first basketball one. We're going to end this segment with just a coaching question because your normal fan, they don't sometimes understand. And that's what I really try to do in the football podcast is ask questions that a fan would ask to get a coaching perspective. So here's your question today from a fan perspective. Explain 2-for-1. You hear that all the time. And what kind of is your philosophy on 2-for-1?
Yep. Yeah, so 2-for-1 is if you have an opportunity at the end, in our case of a quarter, in the men's game it would be a half, can you try to steal 2 possessions the other team's 1? That requires a knowledge of timing and a knowledge of your system and what your strengths are. Here, for us in the pace we play, we're always going to try to steal 2-for-1s. We're pretty unique, and most coaches prefer it to be in that high 50s to minute 10 to steal a 2-for-1. We floor it so much with our pace, we're actually pretty comfortable based on time and situation at going even the high 40s to low 50s. I just think that we're trained that way, we practice that way, so we're going to take full advantage of it. And kind of unique to us, and we are kind of a program that has some intricacies that people don't see, we'll actually try to steal a 3-for-2 based on timing. Just another way that we look to drive pace and try to get scoring up, because ultimately, you're asking a question on behalf of the fans. We want a product the fans want to watch. And I think when you're scoring 80 to 85 points, fans want to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And just to go in a little bit more depth, 30-second shot clock in women's basketball. So if you're at the end of these quarters, per se, you get the ball back with 55 seconds. If you can get down and get a shot up in 15 seconds or so, you're going to get the ball back at least one more time, right, unless there's a foul or something. So that's just one of those questions I want to ask, because you'll hear fans, you'll get the ball back with 37 seconds and they're yelling 2-for-1, and we all know that's not possible. So right, there is a method behind the madness, and hopefully it works out. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. This is going to be an abbreviated second, because we're going to bring our men's coach in for the second segment. So we're going to our version of Media Timeout. Good luck on Friday.
Thank you. Appreciate this.
And tune in for our next broadcast with the basketball edition of Inside Hilltopper Athletics.
"50 years ago, Title IX set in motion my path of where I am today.
Because of Title IX, I'm a tennis player.
I am a basketball player.
A coach.
A volleyball player.
Because of Title IX, I am an administrator. Title IX was set in motion to give opportunities. The opportunities that girls were given to be a student athlete lead to opportunities for them to be productive members of society, but not just productive members of society, leaders within society.
Two things that come to mind are opportunity and visibility. Opportunity, obviously, for female athletes these past 50 years, but also an opportunity to have a voice and be visible as future leaders.
Being a student athlete, and what Title IX afforded me to be able to do is elements of determination, teamwork, responsibility, getting jobs done. Those are all important elements that we learn through sports.
And we've had the opportunity to do that the past 50 years. Long way to go, but at least we have a seat at the table.
I am a product of Title IX and the opportunities that the education law provided for me.
West Liberty University has 9 women's sports,
with over 190 women athletes who participate.
With team combined GPAs with an average of 3.37.
With all 9 individually maintaining a GPA of 3.0.
With 140 female athletes maintaining a GPA of 3.0 and above.
104 female athletes maintain a GPA of 3.5 or above.
53 female athletes maintaining a GPA of 4.0.
And representing 39 different majors across campus.
Title IX made it possible.
I'm here because of Title IX.
I am here
because of Title IX.
I am a product of Title IX. It has taught me resilience for me to be where I am today.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Roger Wiley. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Hilltoppers call. Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Welcome back to our, after our version of Media Timeout, welcome back to the segment of the basketball edition of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. We had our women's coach, Kyle Cooper, on in the first segment. Now we're joined by not only our head men's basketball coach, but fishing guru, Coach Ben Howlett. Coach Howlett, thanks for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me on here.
We talked with Coach Cooper about how quickly the preseason goes. Is that the way you look at it, or would you want 2 more weeks of practice?
I would rather play it. I'd rather play regular games 3 weeks ago. I think it goes by slow, and I want to play real games that actually matter. I think our guys are tired of playing against each other. They're tired of guarding each other. They're tired of screening each other. We've had 3 good scrimmages, but I think we're ready for real games here.
So tell us a little bit. The women open up on the road down at Charleston. Our men actually open up with their version of the MEC PSAC Challenge here at home Friday night. So, Coach, tell us who the opponent is and who are the other teams in the tournament.
Yeah, so Friday night we play at 5:30 versus Shepherd, who used to be in our league and now is in the PSAC. And then 7:30, Cal will take on Wheeling University. And then Saturday night we play the later game at 8 o'clock versus Cal. And the game before us is Shepherd and Wheeling. So familiar foes for us here on the Hilltop. We played both those teams, or both those coaches when they were coaching in our league, and we're definitely looking forward to playing.
I'm not going to get into a lot of specifics because you, like every other coach in the world, you're not going to give away any secrets for anybody that's out there watching. But how do you feel about this year's team? Is it going to be, does it look any different than your previous editions? Give us just a little thoughts generally about your team.
Well, I'm going to give you some coach talk right now, but it's the truth, coach talk. I don't know. I really don't know. I know we have 50% of our roster are new players, so I don't know how they're going to react when the lights come on when we play an actual game. I feel good about our returners. I think they've all had good falls. They've been good leaders for us, but I'm looking forward to seeing how these new guys play here at West Liberty, and we've got 7 of them. I think the 3 transfers are all going to play, and they're going to play significant roles for us this year. I'm looking forward to seeing how our 2 guards play, and Steve Canada and Alec West. I'm really high on those 2 guys, and they figured things out a little bit faster than normal new players. So we're excited. I know our new guys are really excited. They've heard all the stories about our atmosphere here at West Liberty. So I think we're all jacked up, ready to play on Friday.
Another thing that we talked about with Coach Cooper is about how the off season has dramatically changed in the last 30 years. So I always say I'm 180. When I coached, we weren't even allowed to do anything with them until October 15th. Now that you have the ability to go 4 hours a week before October 15th, how do you break that up? Is it team practices, or are you doing a lot of 5-on-5?
Yeah, so we take those hours and we have our whole team involved in those. We don't do the individuals. We tend to have team practices, and we have everything actually installed as far as sets in our defensive components by October 15th. So when October 15th rolls around, which is the start of actual practice, we've pretty much got everything installed. So again, once October 15th comes around, we're just fine-tuning everything and getting ready to play real games.
How about the transfer portal? We're well aware of it because that's the life we live. We have to live it every day. But even your general fan now, if they see me at Kroger's, are saying, what's up with this transfer portal? Do you think it's more prevalent in men's basketball than any other sport? And what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I do think it's more prevalent in men's basketball. I think the COVID year obviously affects that, but from my personal viewpoint of the transfer portal, I love it. We've gotten a lot of good players from the transfer portal, and obviously we've lost some pieces in the past, but I think that's going to happen to every good program. And but if you look at the guys that we've brought in, they've all been successful here, and that's the transfer portal is something that I look at every hour of the day, football and basketball. I want to see what's going on in the transfer portal, and it's something that as coaches we have to familiarize ourselves with because I think it is going to be important, and I do think there are a lot of good players in the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's definitely changed, and I like that, you're upfront and honest and say, we've gotten good players, we've lost good players, but the reality is it's everywhere. Meaning no one is immune from this, and if you play for a national championship, you're potentially going to lose players in the transfer portal. And there's teams that don't win a game, and they're going to lose players in the transfer portal. It's just reality.
For sure.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I have friends at the Division I level that are strictly recruiting out of the transfer portal. They're not taking any high school kids. So on the flip side of that, we still want to recruit high school kids really hard. We feel we can get maybe under the radar Division I players here at West Liberty, high school recruits, because the Division Is are not recruiting that area as much. And so we still want to recruit high school kids, but we're also going to recruit transfers here.
Yep, and that's probably the way that you've got to do it. And I think the reality is things are going to change no matter what profession you're in. And if you're stubborn and you think you can just not accept change, you're not going to evolve and win. And fortunately, we've done a lot of winning here, so that's a good thing. We talked about you have Shepherd and Cal PA this weekend. Tell us about your other non-conference games.
Yeah, so since I've been head coach, the one thing that I've really wanted to do and change here is I want to play good teams out of conference. And obviously the first 3 games of the season are huge, and they mean a lot come March with Cal, Shepherd, and Pitt Johnstown. Those 3 games are huge for us, and we're going to play another in-region opponent in Bowie State on the road, and then we're going to play Missouri S&T out in Las Vegas, which is considered in-region as well. And then we're also going to play Lubbock Christian out in Las Vegas, which they were number 1 in the country for the majority of the season last year. And I want to challenge, like when the person we were going through the Las Vegas tournament said, Lubbock Christian's here and they need a game, I said, we'll play them. We'll play them. And that's something that I know as a coaching staff we look forward to, but also our players, they look forward to playing these big games too. And I think a lot of these, non-conference games that we have this year will provide NCAA tournament atmosphere for us. So if we're lucky enough and good enough to get in the NCAA tournament, we're already played in those type of environments.
Yep. Tell us, tell the viewers out there some details about the Vegas trip. When is it?
Yeah.
You've talked about the opponents.
Yeah. So the Vegas tournament, we are going to be playing games December 18th and 19th. We're playing Lubbock Christian first, and that's kind of the marquee game of the day. So they gave us the primetime spot out there, which is I believe it starts at 5:30 on their time out there, and then we play the late game on the 18th versus Missouri S&T, which again is considered in region for us.
We're just warning all of our viewers, the games in Vegas are behind a paywall. So if you are, like many of you, diehard Topper fans, and you're watching the stream when they're on the road and you're not making the trip to Vegas, there is a paywall. That's not something we control. The organizer of the event controls that. So, and I'm jokingly saying this, but don't be firing me emails and phone calls about having to pay to watch your team play, because here at West Liberty, we are not controlling that. Who's on your staff?
Yeah, so I've had these 3 coaches on my staff for the past 3 years now. Assistant coach Mike Lamberti, who was a great player here, and he's been with me now for 4 seasons. He's close to being a head coach himself. He's done a great job. He's become a better recruiter, and he knows the ins and outs of our program very well. And Coach Aaron Huffman, who's been with me, both as an assistant coach and head coach, and he's kind of the old man, I'm going to call him, that I lean on sometimes for advice. And he's a great basketball mind, and our guys love him. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's a joy to be around. And then we have our young buck in Connor Haar, who's a student assistant, but from a basketball mind, he's elite. He is a very elite basketball mind, and offensively, he's brought a lot of new concepts into our program.
Well, good. Well, that kind of wraps it up, but I'm not going to let you off the hook. Let's talk a little bit about fishing.
All right.
So, would you legitimately at some point in your life just like to disappear for a while and fish?
Yeah, every day. I'd like to do that every day of my life. I tell you what, I was thinking about this the other day when I was running. When I'm retired from coaching, when I'm old, I just want to go fishing every day of my life and live off some island and go fishing every day. And it's something that I love to do. I love to fish, and I'm fortunate enough to do it a lot in the summer. But obviously basketball is my main focal point. It's what I think about 24/7.
Well, good. Yeah, I give you a lot of grief about that. And are you still claiming that you are the best fisherman at West Liberty University?
100%. Not even close. And if we do ever get a fishing team here, I want to be in charge of that team along with basketball.
Because we have other employees that say you're not the best fisherman, but we're going to
jealous.
find that out.
Yeah.
We're going to have a competition at some point. But well, that wraps up the second half of this show. Everyone out there, remind you one more time, both our men and women's basketball teams open up this weekend. Really, really good competition. The men are fortunate enough to be at home. The women are on the road. If you can't make the games, please tune in, watch the stream on Topper Station. But I'm Lynn Allum, joined by Ben Howlett, and good luck, Coach, and we'll see all of you this weekend.
What are you working for? Do you want to pursue your athletic potential while earning a degree that will benefit you for a lifetime? Do you want to play at the highest level in your sport? Do you want to be a champion? That's what the 12 proud members of the Mountain East Conference are advancing toward every day, providing opportunities and pursuing excellence. The Mountain East Conference.